I think
Yes.
I don't see any. I mean, I don't know. I talked to my person, and it seemed like a just a simple brush up, and they'll be
Yes.
able to get
My
back
client
together.
does want to have contact with her sister.
Yeah, well, they live together. I'm hoping they can just go back
Right.
home. Yeah, okay, I'm in the same boat. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
The SAP reset date, Ms. Bridgewater?
November the 12th.
Thank you. Let me know when you're ready, courtroom two.
This is going to be position number 15, Ms. Brittany Stone.
Okay. And let me just make a general announcement to everybody. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we're offering you the assistance of a public defender if you choose to utilize their services this afternoon. Good afternoon, Ms. Stone. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0073331E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? Good
What's his
afternoon.
number? Oh,
Position 15, Brittany Stone.
first.
Hey, Ms. Allen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. This is an incident from May the 31st of 2024. Police were called to the location at 2319 Jones Road, Northwest. There they met with the victim. His name is Demetrius Jackson. He and the defendant share a child together. The residence or the location is his residence, and a witness was on scene, a family member of his. Mr. Harris is the witness. He reported that when he got home to the location at about 3 p.m., the defendant, Ms. Stone, was outside waiting. She told Mr. Harris that she wanted to see Mr. Demetrius Jackson. And so when Mr. Harris went inside the location, he let his nephew know. Mr. Jackson came outside on the porch, and during a verbal argument where evidently Mrs. Stone was upset, he wasn't answering calls. She was assuming he had someone inside at the location. She sprayed him in his face with mace. Police were called. She fled the location. It was obvious the victim had been sprayed. He was incapacitated. He could hardly keep his eyes open. His eyes were severely irritated, and he needed some medical care. Witness, Mr. Harris,
They can hear me.
made a statement as well, and warrants were obtained on the 14th of June, Your Honor. We have tried to get in touch with Mr. Jackson today and haven't been successful yet. If you'd sound for him, again, his name is Demetrius. They share a child. But at this point, we would be asking for an SOB through pretrial with a requirement that the defendant have no contact with Mr. Jackson, to stay away from that location and have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
This your case, Mr. McLean?
How do you do this?
Yeah,
Hell, I'm not muted. Objection. Your Honor.
cut the video off.
Whose case?
Aye. It is my case. No objection.
All right. As such, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Demetrius Jackson. Mr. Jackson, if you're on the line and wish to address the court, I'll allow you to do that. Stay away from the Jones Road address, third-party transfer of any minor children, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Stone.
Okay, thank you. Come on. Okay.
Your Honor, can we put South Phoenix and Mr. McLean into a breakout room?
Okay, this is the one that needs the interpreter, is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ms. Chancey. Thank you for being here
Good
this
afternoon, Your Honor.
So if we can place Ms. Chance in the South Annex and Mr. McLean into a breakout room, please. Okay, who do we have in courtroom 2?
This is gonna be position number 4, Mr. Omar Cardoso.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cordoso. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007320C with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
16 on probation for battery DV out of state court as of the 8th of this month. That's 23 CR 006098C. 2014 trespass conviction, 2016 battery arrest, 2016 theft conviction. That's all.
Ms. Desiano, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident took place on the 28th. Officers were dispatched to 3505-2915 Crest Ridge Drive in East Point in reference to an argument. Upon arrival, they made contact with the victim, Nicole Frazier. Ms. Frazier advised that she was sleeping. She heard the defendant enter the apartment downstairs. These parties are exes that still live together. She stated that he was extremely loud and sounded upset about something. She then told the police that he came into her bedroom and shouted, I'm a get you B, and then grabbed her lamp on top of the nightstand and slammed it to the ground. The victim also told police that the lamp was worth approximately $95. She said that he threw dog feces onto the carpet in her room as well. Your Honor, as pretrial stated, he's on probation for another case that's involving the same victim. The victim told police when this incident happened yesterday that she felt like the defendant was angry because he's on probation for a case involving her now. The defendant was extremely intoxicated to the point where he was mumbling and slurring extremely. In addition to the case he pled to on the 8th, which was a battery family violence that was reduced to a simple battery family violence, he also pled as a global resolution to another criminal trespass case, which is case 24 CR 00683C for damaging this same victim's property in their house and vehicle. Of note, Your Honor, there's also a third case involving these parties, the 24 PI 002822. The defendant was charged in that case with simple battery family violence and criminal damage to property for shoving the victim and damaging her car over the misdemeanor amounts. However, that case was dismissed for want of prosecution. We've been in touch with Ms. Frazier today. She has changed her position since she spoke to the police yesterday. She is denying everything, saying that she did admit that the defendant threw feces in her room, but is now denying the rest of what I just told you. She would like contact and would like for him to be able to return to the residence. Of course, Your Honor, this is the 4th case involving the same victim, so the state has concerns about these parties continuing to have contact. A common theme throughout these cases that the defendant's very intoxicated and turns violent. The victim has stated in multiple reports that these parties are no longer together. So at this point, for the victim's safety, the state's recommending no contact, and we're requesting a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor. No contact with Ms. Frazier, stay away from the incident location, an alcohol and drug evaluation, and follow any recommended treatment. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And Your Honor, I believe the victim's on the line, Nicole Frazier. Thank you.
Ms. Destiano, do you know the terms of the probation, what the order of contact is?
No further violent contact, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Frazier, I see that you're on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I need for you to raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay, you can place your hand down. You are not driving a car, are you?
I am pulling over as we speak.
Okay, I'll speak with you as soon as you pull over and make yourself and everyone else on the roadway safe. So you let me know when
I'm
you've
all right.
done.
I'm pulled over.
Okay. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
I would like to tell the court that that report from the police officers, I never said that he broke a lamp. I don't have a lamp to be picked up to be broken. I never said it was $95. He did throw the feces in the room. He was drunk. He's attending some AA meetings. He has an anger management class November 11th scheduled at 1 p.m. He's taking a 6-week class. He has started his therapy session. That report that was stated is not what I stated at all. The police were called so I can have them de-escalate the situation. He's actually been doing a really good job with everything. He just had a slip up and had some alcohol. There was no violent contact. There was nothing of that sort. There was nothing thrown or broken. He bumped into my speaker, which a vase broke. He did not do anything with a lamp or anything. He has certain things in place to help him become better, and that's what he's working on. I called the police so they can help de-escalate the situation and calm down. I didn't know all that was going to take place.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Frazier. Who is representing Mr. Cardoza?
That's my case, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Coe.
Your Honor, yes, Ms. Frazier relates to the court what she had related to me earlier. She sent me just a short time ago some information. He's in an anger man. You want to start anger management in November, I believe the 11th, with the organization called Turning Point Revision, the 6-week course, along with AA meetings. He's in therapy with a Dr. Brannon. I do not know if that's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. She did relate to me that there was no damaged lamp. I couldn't catch all the of the prior interactions, but I know in this case there was no allegation of any physical injury or any physical contact between the two. This is a criminal trespass case. We would ask the court, as far as conditions, to allow him to go back to 2915 Crest Ridge Drive. That's in East Point. With no further violent contact, allow him to proceed on these courses he has already signed up for. That can be looked at through that can be, managed or monitored through pre-trial. I'm not sure. And those could be perhaps a condition of bond, but we would like him to return to the place where he lives. If a signature bond is out of the question, and we hope it's not, but if it is, we would want the lowest possible surety bond. He does flooring and has a project that is awaiting for him now. That's an on and off kind of a job. So his income is on and off as well. And we would just ask the court to take Ms. Frazier's statements to heart. Nothing further, Your Honor.
What is he doing as far as the alcohol treatment goes, Mr.
Well,
Coe?
he's taking AA meetings, and there is some therapy with Dr. Brannon, BRANNUN. Ms. Frazier may have more information on whether that's addressing alcohol or just the anger, but I know he's as part of the 6-week course. He actually hasn't started yet, but it's scheduled to start November the 11th. There are some AA meetings as part of that.
Your Honor, as far as court orders, he's only court ordered to participate in the anger management. You heard the victim testify today that she wanted police present in order to de-escalate the situation. And we understand she's recanting at this point about the lamp being broken. However, it's very concerning that she's stating there's no violence going on, but there was an urgent enough situation to call law enforcement to ensure her safety. And that's the concern here and why we're asking for the alcohol and drug evaluation at this point.
I understand. And Ms. Frazier?
I'm sorry. He has not violated his the no violent contact. He has not done that since his last.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. And let me make it clear to you. He has. He has violated if anything, if but anything, throwing feces around in a household is violating the no further violent contact. He's not going to get another chance. Okay, so he's violated that no further violent contact. As far as I'm concerned, even if the rest of what you say is true, if he has done that, then he has violated that. That is reprehensible to me. Okay, and so you should know that also. So at this point in time, there is going to be absolutely no contact with you, Ms. Frazier. He's to stay away from the Crest Ridge Drive address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. It'll be $1,000 good bond, alcohol, drug evaluation and treatment. He's to go to AA 2 times a week, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. He has been given enough time around you, Ms. Frazier, to get that those problems in check. I'll give him the opportunity to get those problems in check, but he's not going to be around you while he does that. He will be in violation of this bond, and it will be revoked if he has any further contact with you while this is pending. I want you both to understand. Okay? All right. Thank you. Good luck to you, Mr. Cardozo. You also, Ms. Frazier.
Okay.
Who do we have next?
Your Honor, we can go to ACDC.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Judge Mara. I hope you're doing well.
I am. Thank you, Francois. I hope you are as well.
Thank you. I have position number 7, Gardner Tandy. Right here. Have a seat right here.
And Your Honor, this is a dual arrest with position 6.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Gardner. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007325J with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
It's a first for both Gardners.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Desiano.
Your Honor, this incident happened at 925 Canterbury Road, Unit 1123 in Atlanta. The defendants are sisters that live together. Officers responded to a dispute on the 28th. Miss Donna Gardner called the police. She stated that she was in a physical dispute with her sister. Her sister locked her out of the bathroom. There was an argument. She claims that her sister Tandika pushed her first, and she scratched in self-defense in order to get her off of her. Donna Gardner had scratches on her back, arms, and chest. The officers then spoke with Tandika Gardner. She stated that she locked the door. Her sister somehow figured out how to pick the lock. She came into her room, and according to Miss Tandika Gardner, she says her sister Donna started attacking first, and she also accused Donna of trying to suffocate her with her clothes. There was a roommate who was home at the time of this incident. The officers spoke with her, and she claims to have heard a verbal dispute but did not see anything physical. Miss Tandika also had scratches on her body and a swollen finger based on both parties having injuries and opposite accounts and no third-party witnesses. Both parties were arrested, Your Honor, and it's both their first arrest. So the state's recommending a signature bond through pretrial for both of them with an anger awareness course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and we'll defer to the court and defense as far as contact and stay away. Thank you.
Is this your case? Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor, I represent the other, not Donna.
This is Donna. This is Donna. Is that correct? I want to make sure.
Yes, this is Donna.
Okay. Yes. This is.
Hold on. I want to make sure this is this Donna?
This is Tandy.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought you said it was
Okay.
Donna. Your Honor, my
Tandy.
client wants to have contact with her sister, so we would like the condition of their bond to be no further violent contact. And my understanding is that that is what Donna also wants.
Okay. So it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Donna, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Gardner. Do we have Donna?
Judge, I had a question. So,
I'm going to explain the bond to you.
thank you.
Next, we
Okay.
have position number 6, Donna Gardner.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Gardner. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007324J with battery family violence. I take it it's the same recommendation, Ms. Desiano?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, any objections to that recommendation, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Donna Garden, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Tandika, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you both.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5, Carr.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Carr. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007323G with theft by receiving stolen property. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
8, 2017 and 15 probation. 2015 theft by taking, first offender. Jail the recommendation.
Thank you. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place October 28th. Incident location is 398 Parkway Drive, apartment 202. The victim in this case is Shakise Ross. She told the police that she's in the process of moving out of her apartment, and she hasn't been staying there regularly. And yesterday she received a call from her boyfriend stating that her apartment had been ransacked. So she called the police. She also went to investigate and saw some of the kids in the neighborhood wearing her children's clothing. She told police that she was missing a deep freezer, a TV stand, numerous beds, her kids' toys, clothing, Christmas tree, and miscellaneous items. So in addition to the children's clothes that she saw on some of the kids in the neighborhood, she saw her neighbor's house, whose apartment 203 across the way. She saw some of her items in her neighbor's home. The police went to inquire. The defendant lives at the neighbor's home and claimed that the items were purchased from an unknown man in a U-Haul. The victim was able to recover most of her missing property from the neighbor's apartment, and the neighbor also admitted she was home at the time the property was brought to her apartment. We're requesting an SOB, no further contact with Ms. Reese, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
And the last name of the alleged victim is Reese?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ross.
Ross.
And if Your Honor could sound for her as well.
Yes, and that's Shakise Ross. If Ms. Ross is on the line, now is your and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity. Any objection to anything from the state, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Ross. Stay away from her residential address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Carr.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Position number 1, Barnett.
Good afternoon, Ms. Barnett. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007319E with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
No, jail. Yes,
Okay.
first. Jail's recommendation.
All right. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this happened at the Kroger, 590 Cascade Avenue on the 27th. The defendant was ringing up Vienna sausages, which are $1, instead of the actual price for the items she was checking out with. The total amount shoplifted is $265.85. We're requesting an SOB, stay away, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor. We'd like the signature bond to be to the jail, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Kroger on Cascade, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Barnett.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Judge Martin. We're completed here, ACDC.
All right. Very good. Have a good rest of your day. That was quick and easy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Your Honor, this is going to be position number 8, Mr. Nakia Jackson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007332A with simple assault, family violence, terroristic threats and acts, and simple battery, family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
13. Got an open case out of state court, 23 CR 002-903A. That's for simple battery. That's it.
Okay, Stesiano.
Your Honor, this incident happened on the 27th. Incident location is 319820 Washington Road in East Point. Officers responded to a dispute. On scene, the first person the officer spoke with is the victim's mother. She said she heard her daughter scream as if she was hit, and she told her daughter to call the police. The victim in this case is Laquita Thomas. She's the defendant's wife. She was not on scene when police arrived, but they asked her to come back. And while she was en route, they spoke with the defendant, who denied ever touching her, but did admit to raising his hand to her as if he was going to strike her. When the victim arrived back, she told officers that she was outside on the phone talking to a man. Her husband was upset, accusing her of infidelity and things of that nature. She walked back. As she was walking back into the house, the defendant grabbed her by the throat and began to choke her, and then afterwards struck her with a closed fist on the side of her face. There were multiple juvenile witnesses to the altercation who confirmed that the defendant did strike the victim in the face. The defendant was placed under arrest, and while being put into the patrol vehicle, he yelled, "When I get out, there's going to be a whole lot of hitting." We have not been in touch with Miss Thomas today, although she is probably on the Zoom as Laquita, if you could sound for her at the appropriate time. Your Honor, the open battery case is 23 CR 002903A. That was a case against the defendant's daughter, where he's accused of striking her multiple times and busting her lip. And if you read the warrant from that case states that the daughter told police at the time that she heard her mother gasping for air as if she was being strangled, and ran out and was defending her mother, and her father attacked her, and that's how she sustained those injuries. And for whatever reason, the defendant was not charged as it relates to the injury sustained by Miss Laquita Thomas at that time. However, the warrant states that Miss Thomas was very hesitant to tell the police and was essentially not cooperating at that time. There was a bond order in place. There is no stay away. It just says no further violent contact with the victim or any of the victim's family members, which of course would include Miss Thomas. So at this point, Judge, he's in violation of his previous bond, and now there's multiple victims. We're asking for a cash bond, $500 on each count. If Your Honor's not inclined to do a cash bond, then we're requesting a $2,000 surety bond on each count for a $6,000 surety. No contact with Miss Thomas. Stay away from their residence. We're also asking for FVIP at this point, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Thomas.
Was the other case, was that a signature bond?
It was good question. It was an SOB through pretrial level 1, 4,000. So pretrial, are you coming off that?
And who signed that bond, Mr.
That was
Esiano?
Judge Mincy, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Howard, did you hear Mr. Esiano's question? I don't know if he's with us, Mr. Esiano. Mr. Cook?
Y'all looking
I'll
for
ask-
me?
Yes, Mr.
I
Howard.
had stepped away. I'm sorry. What's your question?
We were asking if you were going to come off of the pretrial bond for his open case.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
I believe Ms. Thomas is on the line, Your Honor. I'd like to
Okay.
talk to her.
Ms. Thomas, Ms. Laquita Thomas, if you'd like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. If so, you'll have to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. Okay. Either she does not wish to address the court at this time, or she's not with us. Mr. Cook?
Okay. Your Honor, my client is 49 years old. He denies the allegations that specifically related in the warrant. His position is that he did not hit her. He did, and we would be asking, given his fairly modest income, for a surety bond as low as possible. That is his home. we would ask for no further violent contact, and nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, I see you there. If you would like to address the court again, now is your opportunity to do so. You're going to have to find a quiet place where I can see you to talk to me if you want to. Ms. Thomas, can you hear me?
I can hear him. You act like it.
Excuse me.
Well, would you like to address the court, Ms. Thomas?
I'd like to address the court, Your Honor. Thank you. I
Okay,
had
so wait.
technical
You have to listen to me first, okay? You got to stop moving around, okay? You have to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell me, Ms. Thomas?
I like to let the court know that I don't know where the allegations are coming from. My husband never struck me with a closed fist. He is an honorable man. He's a working man. We've been together for 26 years. My niece is confused. She's not a liar, but she's not honest. It's a failure of communication that my husband and I have been together for 26 years. He's a hardworking man. He has a job to get back to. We've been together all these years. The allegations are totally false. I don't know what the police are doing. And my husband, I need him out so he can get back to work, back to his life, back to taking good care of his family. He's an honorable man, Your Honor. I don't know what they're talking about. So excuse me, I'm just a little upset because the allegations are false.
Who called the police?
I did.
Why did you call the police?
To defuse the situation.
And what was the situation?
The situation was where he got a little overzealous. You know, sometimes I get it. It was a failure of communication.
What does overzealous mean?
It means that he was thinking too much on something that was not true.
Which is what?
Which is nothing. You know, how men get overzealous.
You have to explain to me because I don't understand that. What does overzealous mean, and why did the overzealousness cause you to call the police?
Sometimes we overthink things, Your Honor, with all due respect. My husband and I are a happy couple. We've been together for 26 years. You know, sometimes when you be together that long, things will get muffled. But my husband is an honorable man. He takes care of his family. He's not a violent person. He's not a violent person. He loved me and the 5 children we share.
Ms. Jackson, you're not telling me what he was doing for you to call the police. If you want me to believe you, then you're going to have to tell me exactly what he did that was not in his head that caused you to call the police.
He was yelling and screaming, just yelling and screaming and acting abnormal. No physical contact, Your Honor, at all. No physical contact. I'm not used to him yelling and screaming and getting upset. So it'll scare me and I'll react. No physical contact at all.
How many children are in that household?
Okay, children.
You don't have to look around. You should be able to tell me off the top of your head how many children are there.
Well, okay, 1, because he's 11. I have a 16-year-old with him. I have a 21-year-old with him. I have a 25-year-old with him and a 27-year-old with him. So there aren't any children here, but except for the 11-year-old. My niece is the young lady that stated the statement. She is 8 years old. She is confused.
And what statement are you talking? What statement are you talking about that she stated?
They said that a young lady stated a statement. That's not his daughter. That's his niece.
What statement are you talking about?
I don't know. The young lady, this prosecutor or this DA, she stated that somebody said their lip got busted. That person. That's a lie. It's false, Your Honor.
Ms. Desiano, would you like to ask any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. And Ms. Thomas, to be clear, I was referring to his previous case, not the incident that happened yesterday. And is it your testimony today that he did not put his hands on you whatsoever?
Yes.
He did not choke you?
No.
Okay, then why are you on the jail calls with him talking about how he was choking you?
He's my husband.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, anything further, Mr. Cook?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And Judge, of course, I'll proffer that the state has recorded jail calls between these individuals where she's talking about choking. You were choking me. He says, I don't remember. She says, you're going crazy. He said, yeah. So this
Okay.
entire testimony, Your Honor, is not credible. And frankly, she's under oath and she's lying.
All right, Ms. Jackson. No, Ms. Thomas, I'm more, you're a grown person. I don't know what's going on in your household, but I'm more concerned about the 8-year-old, the 11-year-old, and the 16-year-old who is also a minor, okay? Y'all are modeling for those children. And I'm not gonna allow that for you all to keep doing that around those children. It's gonna be $1,000 good bond on each charge, makes for a $3,000 good bond. At this point in time, no further contact with Ms. Thomas. Stay away from the Washington Road address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If this court finds out that there is contact, and no contact means absolutely no contact. No physical contact, no phone contact, no social media contact, no texting, no contact. If this court finds out that there's been contact, this bond will be revoked and you'll be right back where you are, Mr. Jackson. All right. Good luck to you all.
Thanks a lot, Your Honor. Have a good day.
You the same. Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. DeCiano, he had a cruelty to the children in the third. Was that NOD?
Yes, that was NOD.
All right, thank you. Next is going to be position number 10, Mr. Obasi Johnson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. You have been charged in case 24CR007321B with criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third, 2018 marijuana possession, 2014 shoplifting conviction.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on October the 28th. At about 9:40 in the morning, police were called to 2637 Old Hateville. That's apartment 17G. There they met with the victim. Her name is Shanika Bigby, Bigby is how you spell that last name. She reported that her ex-boyfriend had come to the location to pick up some of his belongings. She had put them outside on the front porch. And evidently, he didn't see them. He knocked on the front door and then moved to the back door area where she heard the door being kicked in and the door was damaged as a result. The defendant was on scene and spoke to police. He said he came to get his blender and his game controller, that he got no response at the front door, so he went to the back door. And I guess it was only after he damaged that door that he realized his things had been sitting on the front porch. And then he left. He was arrested. We did speak to Mrs. Bigby. She says that this gentleman and she are no longer in a relationship, that he was throwing rocks at her window when he came over on the 28th, so just yesterday, and that she felt uncomfortable, and that's why she put his belongings outside so that they would have no contact. So we're asking for no contact, Your Honor. We'd ask for a surety bond. We'd ask for $1,000 for one count, no contact with Mrs. Bigby. Stay away from that location. Again, that's 17G at 2637 Old Hateville Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And if you would sound for Mrs. Bigby, thank you.
Ms. Bigby is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook.
Your Honor, we have no objection to the conditions of the bond. My client is 29 years old. He is working as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and his for the last 2 months, his income is quite modest. Therefore, we would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Bigby. Stay away from the Old Hateville address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is going to be position number 11, Mr. Sean Johnson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0073333E with 2 counts of criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
39, 2024 FTA, 2024 trespass PI conviction on martyr, 2023 FTA, 2022 trespass disorderly conduct conviction, 2021 failure to appear shoplifting conviction, 2019 trespass conviction, 2019 FTA. I stopped there.
Okay,
It's,
Ms.
it's a lot.
Desiano?
Yes, Your Honor, this individual was with us on August 15th, SAP calendar, pled to criminal trespass and PI, and it was a suspended sentence, Your Honor, 24 CR 005411E. However, he was ordered to stay away from MARTA until his suspension was up. In this case, it was on the 27th. He was at the MARTA station again. He was on the rails that were clearly marked no trespassing. And of course, he has a prior suspension in effect. So he's got to count for being on the unauthorized area and then account for being on MARTA after having a criminal trespass warning saying he can't be there. So we're requesting a $500 good bond on each count for a total of $1,000. Another stay away from MARTA, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Cook?
Yes, sir. My client is 31 years old. He works on and off in construction, and occasionally at the Home Depot. He takes the MARTA to get to the Lindbergh station where he works at a nearby Home Depot. So he rides the train to work. Again, a very modest income. We realize he has a trespass conviction, so technically he would be restricted on the signature bond, but we would still ask for a signature bond through a pretrial, and any stay away or further adherence to the any MARTA order, certainly we would have no objection.
When is the stay away? How long is the stay away in effect, Ms. Desiano? Do you know?
Until the 26th of November, Your Honor, of this year.
Okay, so next month.
That's so sometimes with MARTA, they have suspensions if they run. There may be multiple suspensions, Your Honor. He has his criminal history for his criminal trespass is for the large part MARTA. He also had a couple felony cases, terroristic threats, and criminal trespass from MARTA. He very well may have more suspensions than that. At this point, given that he's in violation of his probation condition, we would ask for just a general stay away at this point until this case is resolved.
Okay. Aside from needing to ride MARTA, Mr. Cook, are there any other issues that I might need to know about?
Nothing that I know of, Your Honor.
Okay. It's going to be a $500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. I think there may be some other issues here, so I'm going to request that there be a social worker visit for a BHET. And I'd like that reported out to me on November 12th on that, or to whomever the judge is on that date. Stay away from MARTA and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Your Honor, we can go to the Spanish interpreter case.
Okay.
Hey.
And let's see.
That's going to be position number 9.
Okay. Afternoon again, Ms. Chance. If you raise your right hand for me, do you swear affirm that you will translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the best of your ability?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Thank you. And where is Mr. Jimenez?
¿Dónde está el señor Jiménez?
Where's Mike McLean too? Oh, Mike
Mr. McLean's on the line.
Let me call South Annex, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
In the meanwhile, we can go to position number 12, Mr. Kenji Kaneda.
We'll be with you, Ms. Chansey.
Morning, all.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kaneda. You have been charged in case 24CR007322C with criminal trespass and terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
8/2022, couple of FTAs. I think it's according to the booking.
Okay. Ms. Allen, Ms. Desiano?
I apologize, Your Honor. Can you tell me the defendant's name again?
Yes, it's position number 12, Mr. Kaneda.
Yes, thank you. This is an incident from the 28th of October. The location is the State Capitol building downtown. It's 90 Central Avenue Southwest. At about 5:30 a.m., officers there, Officer Clark specifically, saw the defendant entering through the gate there at the location that's clearly marked, no entry by order of the fire marshal. He recognized him. He'd been previously, Mr. Kaneda had been previously criminally trespassed from there on the 23rd of October. And the officer had prior interactions with him, so he arrested him. It's reported that during the period of time where this gentleman was in custody, he was disruptive. He kicked the partition in the police car. He made verbal threats to beat the officer's ass, and was in general pretty abusive. So you've got in front of you a criminal trespass charge and a terroristic threats charge, Your Honor. I will say that the criminal history shows this defendant has multiple failure to appears.
I don't have that.
And he also has a little bit of history out of Texas. But ultimately, there seems to be an issue here. We're asking for an evaluation, an MHET, a $2,000 surety, Your Honor. The last time he was arrested was in 2023 for driving without a license. He's been convicted of that probably 4 times since 2021. Stay away from the location. That's 90 Central Avenue Southwest, the State Capitol building. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is homeless. He occasionally is in shelters, but often on the street. Apparently, is not working, has no income. We would suggest starting with a BHET, and we would, I don't know if there was a prior conviction on a trespass. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
Okay, for each count, it'll be a $250 good bond. Stay away from the Central Avenue address, social worker visit for a BHET, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay,
Would you like me to go back to position 9?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Good afternoon, Mr. Jimenez. You have been charged in case 24CR007329A with simple battery family violence.
Buenas tardes, señor Jiménez. Usted ha sido acusado en el caso 24 CR007329A con un cargo de golpes y lesiones simples.
It's my understanding that this is Mr. Jimenez's first arrest.
Entiendo que este es el primer arresto del señor Jiménez.
That he's 17 years old.
Y que tiene 17 años.
Mrs. Desiano?
Your Honor,
Go ahead, please.
Your Honor, this incident took place October 28th at 5502 Webb Bridge Court in Alpharetta.
One moment, please. Este es un caso que ocurrió el 28 de octubre en el 5502 en Flatbridge, Alpharetta.
The defendant apparently called the police on himself to turn himself in and asked to be arrested for disrespecting his mother.
En este caso, el acusado llamó a la policía para entregarse por haberle faltado el respeto a su madre.
He advised to dispatch that he was drunk and could not remember if he hit her, but he may have hit her.
Él dijo que estaba borracho y que podría haberle pegado, pero no estaba seguro.
When officers arrived, they spoke with the victim with the help of a translator.
Cuando los oficiales llegaron, hablaron con la ayuda de un intérprete.
The victim is defendant's mother, Isabel Jimenez Bueno.
La víctima es la madre del acusado, que se llama Jiménez Bueno, de apellido.
She stated that her son was fighting with another family member and she tried to hold him back when he struck her in the back of the head and pushed her.
Dijo que él estaba teniendo una discusión con otro miembro de la familia y en donde en medio de todo eso la empujó y le golpeó en la parte trasera de la cabeza.
The victim was visibly shaken up but had no visible injuries.
Se notaba la víctima alterada, pero no tenía ninguna lesión visible física.
Officers also spoke with the defendant.
Los oficiales también hablaron con el acusado.
He stated he was fighting with his cousin and his mom got in between them and he hit her instead.
Él dijo que había estado peleando él y su primo y la madre se puso en el medio y quien terminó siendo golpeada.
The officers asked him why he called the police on this himself and he said his parents told him to.
Los oficiales le preguntaron por qué llamó a la policía para denunciarse hacia él mismo, a lo que él respondió que sus padres le habían dicho que lo hiciera.
Officers noted the defendant was very intoxicated at the time of the incident and he admitted to drinking 8 beers.
Los oficiales notaron que el acusado estaba muy intoxicado en ese momento, a lo que él confesó haber bebido 8 cervezas.
And Your Honor, we've not been in touch with the victim today.
No hemos estado en contacto con la víctima hoy.
However, given his age, we are asking for no violent contact with his mom.
Debido a su edad, le pedimos que se le imponga no tener ningún tipo de contacto violento con su madre.
We're asking for an SOB through pretrial.
Y también pedimos una una fianza bajo firma a través de los servicios previos al juicio.
Anger awareness.
Tomar un curso para el control de la ira.
And no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras que esté libre bajo fianza.
And Madam Interpreter, if you could sound for Miss Isabel Jimenez Bueno.
Señora Isabel Jiménez Bueno, ¿se encuentra usted en la plataforma? Por favor, prenda su micrófono y cámara para para hablar con usted. Isabel Jiménez Bueno.
Does not appear so. Can you see, Ms. Chancey, if there's anyone on the line that is here for Mr. Jimenez?
¿Hay alguien que esté aquí para el señor Jiménez para declarar o hablar con el juez acerca del señor Alex Jiménez? Por favor, prenda su cámara y su micrófono para hablar con el juez.
Doesn't appear so. Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Señor McLean.
Your Honor, my client is a 17-year-old high school graduate.
Su señoría, mi cliente es un joven de 17 años graduado de la secundaria.
He works as a cook at a certain Mexican restaurant, which by coincidence I have gone to and enjoyed very much.
Él trabaja como cocinero en un restaurante mexicano que coincidentemente yo he visitado y disfruté mucho.
I don't know that an anger awareness would be necessary here because after much discussion with my client, I think this is a one-time thing.
No creo que un curso de concientización de la ira sea necesario, porque después de hablar bastante con mi cliente, este ha sido un evento ha ocurrido una sola vez.
He's very clear now, as a 17-year-old, he should not be trying to drink until he's 21.
Es muy claro que como un joven de 17 años, él no tiene por qué estar bebiendo hasta que sea mayor de edad.
As shown by him calling the police on himself, he's ashamed.
Y el llamar a la policía para entregarse muestra de que él está avergonzado.
The fight was with a 23 or 24-year-old cousin who has a legal right to drink. I asked my not to
I'm sorry.
example.
Y la pelea fue con un primo de 23 o 24 años, quien tiene el derecho de beber alcohol.
My client understands that he's the one who will get in trouble for drinking and this sort of thing, not his cousin.
Mi cliente entiende que él será quien se meta en problemas si bebe, no su primo.
There are a lot of people living in a two-bedroom apartment, and we've discussed tensions and how to get along.
Hay mucha gente viviendo en este departamento y también tratamos el tema de las tensiones y de cómo llevarse bien con los demás.
I think he has a bright future.
Yo creo que él tiene un futuro brillante.
For all those reasons, I would ask the court to consider a signature bond through the jail.
Por todas estas razones, yo solicito a su señoría que considere una fianza bajo firma a través de la cárcel.
And of course, I agree with the no further violent contact.
Y estoy de acuerdo con que se le emita una orden de no tener ningún tipo de contacto violento con su madre.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Mr. McLean, have you been provided any information on a cosigner for Mr. Jimenez?
Usted, señor McLean, le ha dado usted información acerca de la firma de un adulto que se necesita al lado de la de él.
No, Your Honor, I have not. My concern about the difficulties that could arise from that is part of why I wanted to quiz him for factors of why I could ask for a signature bond through the jail, since his relative is his mother. She's the alleged victim in the case, and we'd have to get her to do the co-signing.
No, su señoría, y por varios factores relativos a que el adulto que firme es su mamá, la víctima en este caso.
I see it as a logistical nightmare.
O sea que ha sido una pesadilla logística.
Well, I was told that his parents told him to call the police on himself. Does he not have a father figure or father in the household?
Se me dijo que los padres fueron quienes le aconsejaron a que llamara a la policía para entregarse. ¿No tiene un padre a quien pueda llamar?
No.
No, Your Honor, he does not. The immediate family living in the household is his mother, his brother. There are also cousins, 13 people there in a two-bedroom apartment.
No, su señoría. En realidad, los parientes directos que tiene es la madre y su hermano. Y hay 13 personas viviendo en un departamento de 2 habitaciones.
Okay. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Va a ser una fianza de $2,000 bajo firma a través de la cárcel.
No further violent contact with his mother.
No tener ningún tipo de contacto violento con su madre.
No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté libre bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, Mr. Jimenez.
Buena suerte, señor Jiménez.
Okay.
Next.
Do we need Madam Interpreter for any other cases today?
No.
Okay. I thank you, Ms. Chansey. We appreciate you being here this afternoon. Have a
You're
good rest.
welcome. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Who
is
do
going to
we-
be position number 13, Mr. Richard McDay.
Good afternoon, Mr. McDay. You have been charged in case 24CR007330D with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
21. 2024 FTA, 2014 theft by deception. He had an 02 ag battery conviction. I stopped there.
Salin?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred back in June of this year, the 21st of June specifically. Police were called to 2210 Sullivan Road at about 6 p.m. There they met with the victim. Her name is Darlene Scott. She and the defendant both live at the location. I believe it is a rooming house kind of situation. She was seen to have a large laceration to the back of her head that she was described as bleeding profusely. There was blood covering her shirt and the neck of her shirt, all down her shirt. She reported that while the defendant was on the phone with his mom, she asked him about whether he'd eaten her candy bar, and he got really upset, began being aggressive with her and yelling at her. She told him he needed help with his anger, and she went to her bedroom and closed the door. The next thing she knew, he had busted the door in and jumped on her and used a fire extinguisher to strike her in the head twice. She was transported to the hospital. The defendant in front of you on the scene was seen to have scratches to his arms, which the state would describe as defensive wounds. If you hit me with a fire extinguisher in my head multiple times after you bust in my bedroom, you might have some scratches on you as well. It looks like the police officers there took out warrants for Mrs. Scott as well. I would say as well to this court that if she were on our SEA calendar today, those would probably be dismissed. We're going to try to reach out to her and make sure that she's all right. So the defendant wasn't arrested on that day because of the injuries that he sustained, and evidently the police not being able to make a decision about who the primary aggressor was. This defendant has robbery convictions, simple battery, family violence convictions, aggravated battery convictions in his history, although there's been some time since his last deal with law enforcement. We would ask for a surety bond, Your Honor. This case has 2 charges, so we'd ask for $2,000 on each. That's a $4,000 surety bond. Absolutely no contact with Ms. Darlene Scott. Stay away from that location on Sullivan Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Ms. Scott is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 59. He's a local person. He's lived here all his life. He dropped out of the 11th grade in high school, and then after a 4-year hiatus, went back and got his GED. In the meantime, construction. He's 59 now. He still loves working construction and does. He worked for a construction company called Hire Quest Direct, and his supervisor is Tony for the last. Your Honor, he has family contacts here. He's got his stepfather This is emergency contact. There shouldn't be any problem with making court. I would ask the court to consider if not a signature bond, a low surety bond of $1,000 at the most, because he will show back up in court, and he'll also follow any conditions and take any classes that the court requires in the meantime. Thank you.
Is he still at that Sullivan Road address, Mr. McLean?
His address, Your Honor, is on Altaview Drive.
Okay, so he doesn't have any reason to go back to Sullivan Road.
I believe I'm correct in believing he has no reason to do so. Is that correct, Mr. McDay?
Yes, sir. I don't have no reason to go back there.
Thank you.
Okay. So for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. 1-day anger awareness. No further contact with Ms. Scott. Stay away from the Sullivan Road address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. McDay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Next is going to be Mr. Dante Rivera.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rivera. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007328F with hit and run, improper erratic lane change, and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
13. You got a couple of open felonies. As far as driving, 2024 suspended license, 2022 driving without a valid license conviction. That's it.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did note in the criminal history that there was a 2021 felony case that was transferred to the state that is now a 24 CR case that's open. I believe it was in bench warrant status, so it's listed on the jailing as a CP case, if that makes sense. It's 22 CP 210816. He was released with an ankle monitor in 2022, and that case is now 24 CR 005723F. He also has 22, he's got 2 other open felony cases, Your Honor. So this is an incident that happened on September the 23rd, 2024 at about 3:30 a.m. Officers responded to a crash on 7585 South. There they met with the victim. His last name is Harris, Mr. Harris. He was driving a silver vehicle and reported being sideswiped by someone driving an orange BMW. He had visible damage on his vehicle. The orange BMW that struck him did not stop, but continued on southbound. The information about that car, its registration, tag number information was obtained because the victim provided it to police. They identified the registered owner of that car as Vanessa Palmer and reached out to her. She reported to police that the defendant is her ex-boyfriend and had stolen her car. She provided police with the report number and specific information about her vehicle. And she said she didn't know where the defendant was because he was on the run. Eventually, the vehicle was located. It had been abandoned in Cobb County. That vehicle was returned back to Mrs. Palmer. An arrest warrant was obtained for the defendant in October. It was noted that his driver's license had been suspended since 2023. He is a convicted felon, Your Honor. He has a robbery conviction out of New York, as well as a trafficking in drugs conviction. In Georgia, he's got active warrants out of Cherokee County. That open battery from 2021 that I just told you about that has the 24 CR number. He's supposed to have an ankle monitor, I believe, on that one. He's been driving without a license and super speeding and has convictions for those. But also, it looks like he's got an open theft by deception in Columbus, Georgia, as well as an open aggravated assault in Clayton County from September the 10th of this year, 2024. So based on the numerous open cases, he's in bench warrant status for 2 felony cases from last year, 2023, financial transaction, card fraud, and a criminal damage to property, actually damaging the vehicle of a different girlfriend. We're asking for a $4,000 surety bond, Your Honor, a requirement that the defendant absolutely not drive without a valid license and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is my math right? 28 years old, I think 28. He has numerous local community ties in that he's been here in Georgia for at least 5 years and really 14 years back and forth between Georgia and the Atlanta area and another place. So he has his McDaniel Street mail and residential address. It's one address, but he both lives there and gets good mail service there. He has a roommate. His aunt, Paula Cruz, lives in College Park. He works here at a place that he has several different jobs. He works in aesthetic services. He's the co-owner of a business that does hair care, that they do aesthetic things. They sell clothes and sneakers that are really stylish. He's a veneer tech in the dental field, and he does graphic design. So he's a creative person, has a lot of irons in the fire for working to make money and serve society in those ways. We understand what the state's saying about his record in the open cases. He has 8 children, Your Honor. 5 live with him, and he's providing support for all of them. So we would ask the court to consider as low bond as possible, signature bond if that is possible, and if not a signature bond, then something in the neighborhood of $2,000 or $3,000 surety.
Okay, for the hit and run, it's going to be a $500 good bond. For the improper erratic lane change, a $250 good bond. For the license, a $250 good bond makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No driving without a valid license. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Your client has his hand up, Mr. McLean.
I would think it's probably a procedural answer by phone. I think I explained to him that we're not doing a case here. This isn't the trial. This is simply a bond.
Okay. If it doesn't have anything to do with the case,
You have a procedural
to do with the bond, Mr. Rivera?
No, it doesn't. It was about the car being stolen.
Okay, so you can talk to Mr. McLean about that at a later time, okay?
Sure.
I don't want you to say anything that might get yourself in any more trouble. All right, good luck to you, sir.
Yeah. Y'all, it was a $1,000 good bond for all the charges, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And this is going to be position number 16, Mr. Stockmeyer.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Stockmeyer. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007334Y with simple battery and battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2024 obstruction, 2024 drugs conviction, 2024 fade to ID conviction, 2023 another drug possession conviction, 2017 robbery conviction, 2016 disorderly conduct conviction, 2015 assault conviction, 2013 escape conviction. And this history come out of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And some of those arrests from this year. That's it.
Okay, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 28th, so yesterday, October, at about 8 p.m. At 550 West Peachtree Street. This is the Emory medical location. The victim, there are 2 victims in this case. One is Miss Hannah Cowart. She's here on the Zoom. She's a nurse at Emory. And the other is Christopher Phillips, who's an Emory public safety officer. While trying to treat the defendant, who was in a state of undress, He was behaving erratically, and the nurse, Mrs. Cowart, actually volunteered to assist. She approached to see what was going on, and his paper pants were falling down. So she bent over to pick those up to assist. That's when the defendant grabbed her and wrapped his arms around her from the back and took her to the ground. At that point, public safety officer Mr. Phillips had to intervene and assist getting the defendant off of this lady, Mrs. Cowart, who was there trying to assist him. While that occurred, the defendant struck the security officer, causing a big scratch on his arm. We have been in touch with Mrs. Cowart. She reported that she's concerned that there's been there's an MH issue. She also reports that she found out the defendant had just been discharged from the hospital 3 times that day when she was there, and that he'd left and gone and used substances before returning. So there's ongoing MH concerns as well as substance abuse concerns, Your Honor. This is an assault on strangers. And although I would say that many people in the medical profession are probably trained and should expect some kind of interaction with the public that is gonna maybe deal with some behavioral issues, they have a right to feel safe in their workspaces. The defendant does have a significant history, Your Honor. He was just arrested in September on the 4th for obstruction. He had felony convictions for robbery, drug trafficking, burglary, multiple failure to appears. A parole violation warrant is active for him right now out of Pennsylvania. He also has a bench trial, a warrant for missing his bench trial out of Ohio in 2023. So although he has minimal criminal history here, just a month ago, he was in jail in Ohio for issues. And so based on the fact that he's got no ties to the community, he is a threat to the general public. In fact, people in helping careers are victims of this kind of behavior. There seems to be an ongoing issue. We're asking for a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor, no contact at all with Mrs. Cowart or Mr. Phillips at Emory to stay away from that location, unless, of course, he is receiving emergency services at 550 West Peachtree Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we would request a MHET evaluation. And if you would sound for Ms. Cowart, she's here with us.
Good afternoon, Ms. Cowart. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself for me, please. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
So I just wanted to be present today. I do believe and concerned that there is a mental health issue concern here, as well as definitely some drug abuse on par. I do believe, even though he had moments where he appeared to be confused during our interaction, he was definitely lucid enough to where he could sense a moment of vulnerability. As I turned to pick something up off the ground, I could still see him in my peripheral, but he was able to sense that moment of vulnerability. And that's when he rushed at me to take hold of me. And with his statement, I do believe there was intent to do additional acts of violence. He did mention as he was pulled off of me, I haven't hurt her yet. I haven't hurt her. So I do think that there's an intent for violence in the future as well.
And he had been present in the emergency room 3 other times that same day?
Apparently so. I was actually coming in. I am not only just an ER nurse, but I am also one of the nurse managers for the ER. So part of my normal day-to-day is helping de-escalate patients and things of that nature. So after the event took place and we were filing our reports, it was noted that he had been in the ER 3 other times within the last 24 hours, all on the 28th. The last time that he was in, which is when he was actually, I think trying to leave or wanting or leaving and being agitated in the ambulance bay. He had refused care. He was mostly around almost completely naked. He had that one pair of pants on that kept falling. But he had been there and left 3 different times. It was also reported by the previous nurse that it expected that he had taken meth between the last 2 visits.
Thank you for
And
being
he
here.
did present signs of drug use as well. He was very diaphoretic. I'm sorry, he's very sweaty, agitated, things of that nature.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you being here this afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 33 years old. He is a graduate and GED recipient from the Philadelphia school system. He's been in Georgia for at least 6 months, but really he's been back and forth with Georgia family ever since he was a small child. So he feels like he's about half Pennsylvania and half Georgian through all the years. He's been here full time for the 6 months. He lives with his cousin. They're both on the lease. He tells me on an apartment complex with a particular unit number on Cobb Parkway in Marietta. He rehabs houses for a living. That's basically it. He's working. He's a Georgian now, and pretty much halfway has been a Georgian just about all his life. So he does have substantial community contacts, and lives here with his cousin. We would ask the court to consider as low a bond as is possible under these circumstances.
Okay. For the simple battery, it's going to be $1,000 good bond. For the battery, it's going to be a $2,000 good bond. Makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Coward or Mr. Phillips. Stay away from Emory Medical at 550 West Peachtree unless there's an emergency situation. I do think there's some other issues going on here. I would like for him, Mr. McLean, to have an MHET, and if we'll prepare that order for the court. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
All right. Yesterday, and very good. MHET and social worker. Gotcha.
Yes, thank you. Good luck to you, Mr. Stoutmeyer, and thank you for being here, Ms. Coward.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. McLean, I think you made note that I think you owe me an MHET for another case that we had yesterday. Is that right?
Right. I've gotten the form out finally after court. But
I just want to remind you before somebody else gets on to you. Okay.
I did court yesterday. I said, "Hey, can I do that in the morning?" But
I'll expect both of them.
Thank you.
Next is position number 17, Albert Webb.
Good afternoon, Mr. Webb. You've been charged in case 24CR007335Y with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
He's on probation for domestic assault. 2016 probation, and I think he's homeless too, according to the booking sheet.
Gallen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from yesterday, October the 28th, in the morning, actually between 6 and 9 a.m. Police were called to 3833 Princeton Lakes Court. That's Holiday Inn Express. There, they found the defendant in room 405. Cleaning personnel found him at the location inside. They went in to clean the room after the person who had recently been in that room checked out. He had not rented or reserved the room, was not supposed to be there. He was recognized as someone who'd been criminally trespassed on October the 15th. Police were called. When he was told to leave by staff, he refused to do so. So on the 28th, when he was found at the same location again, he was arrested. The history for this gentleman is the most recent history is out of Minnesota, Your Honor. 2022 domestic violence assault, 2022 DUI, another domestic violence assault felony level sentencing from 2023, and an active warrant as it relates to that case. I'm guessing a violation. He's got an active warrant out of Minnesota from May of this year. He's also got a warrant for an open drug objects case and a criminal trespass. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, order to stay away from the Holiday Inn Express at 3833 Princeton Lakes Court. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd request a social worker or a BHET.
Okay, did he have any open warrants out of any Georgia counties?
No, Your Honor, I see the last thing from 2016, but if pretrial sees something more recent, please chime in.
Does he have any other criminal trespass arrest that I missed?
He has an open criminal trespass case from 2023 in Minnesota and an active warrant for it. But no, he's got possession of marijuana and driving without a license here in Georgia from 2010, 2014, and 2016.
Okay, I only asked because I was wondering if he didn't have another criminal trespass, then it would not be restricted, but apparently it is restricted. All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, Mr. Webb is 39 years old. He has had schooling beyond high school, attended some classes at Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and also at Albany State College here in Georgia, in South Georgia. He's working on a bachelor's degree and is about really about 3/4 of the way through it, to be frank. Your Honor, he works in logistics. He has been a driver for Big Brown, which is UPS. He has worked for FedEx and he has driven, can't get my verb right. He has driven trucks for them. He's been an operations manager with logistic type companies. His best mail address, ironically, is out of town because he will call to check for his mail in Swainsboro at his godmother's house, Fannie Hughes. And there's a particular address for that, but it's going to be solid, good mail service. But he'll be in Atlanta. He's working on solidifying his housing, and so that's why he emphasized to me that he knows how to work this. He's a college-educated man, doesn't have his bachelor's, but he knows how to get his mail and not miss court. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond if possible, and if not possible, then a $1,000 surety bond.
Okay, it's going to be a $250 good bond. Stay away from the Holiday Inn Express on Princeton Lakes Court. Social worker visit for a BHT, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Webb.
Next is gonna be position 19. What was that bond amount again for 17?
A $250 good bond.
Thank you.
And this is position which? I'm sorry.
19, Mr.
19.
Williams.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Williams. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007337F with 2 counts of battery and 1 count of hindering a person making an emergency telephone call. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third. Last was 04 out of Ohio, and he's a resident of Ohio.
Okay, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 27th of October at about 3 a.m. The defendant and a young woman named Kylie, Kylie, last name Lay, Lay, were in a vehicle at 3515 Camp Creek Parkway. They ultimately drove up to Marietta, where police encountered them and heard about an incident that had occurred, realized the initial incident started on Camp Creek and called East Point. So in front of East Point police as well as Marietta police, a story and evidence was gathered. because both the defendant and the victim reported the assault. So the defendant told Marietta police and East Point police that he'd struck the victim multiple times in her face. Mrs. Lay was seen to have a swollen eye, a chipped tooth, a busted bloody lip, and bruising to her body. She was seen by EMTs, emergency medical professionals on the scene, and noted to have bruising on both arms and both legs that they reported were consistent with being held down. The victim, Mrs. Lay, reported that they'd been sitting in the parking lot at the location there at 3515 Camp Creek Parkway when they argued because he had women calling him on his phone that weren't her. While sitting in the car, he struck her in the face. They then both got out of the vehicle and he again struck her, this time right in the mouth. The victim reported to the police that the defendant was going to drive her home. But then while driving in the car, he saw she was trying to call 911. He became angry and tried to grab her phone. This caused them to swerve on the highway. He then threw her purse out the window at one point, but I believe it was retrieved. The victim reported that the parking lot where they had met with Marietta police and she'd eventually called 911 was where the defendant stopped, took all her belongings out of the vehicle, and told her she was going to need to find a different way to get home. On scene, police also spoke to the defendant. His version of events was basically the same, except of course he denied that there'd been any violence and claimed that the victim was the one who'd been violent. He was seen to have some injuries on his forearms that would be consistent with either assaulting someone while driving or being assaulted while driving. Police determined that the defendant here was the primary aggressor, considering the numerous injuries seen to the victim. We have not had a chance to get Mrs. Lay on the phone yet today, Your Honor. I would note that both individuals have addresses out of Ohio, not the same address, but as far as their relationship, we're limited at this point. There are numerous visible injuries here and some concerns about the safety of Mrs. Lay. So we'd be asking for a $3,000 surety, Your Honor, no contact with Kylie Lay, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and stay away from wherever she may live. Thank you.
Okay, if Ms. Kylie Lay is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is from Ohio. He's 46 years old. He has residential construction as his work. That's his trade. He also has his own he has his own company, self-employed, owns a company of pet waste removal. So it's a service company. He also does delivery of what's referred to as, I think the slang is hot shot, when there's a package that if you go to UPS or you go to the other FedEx or whatnot, if something needs to be delivered right away, then he's got a van and has a delivery service. It's cargo van. So all that's in Ohio. He does have community ties here in that his aunt, PJ Rhodes, lives on Codex Drive in Fairburn. We have the 3-digit street number. He has 5 children, Your Honor. But he could get his mail here in Georgia, or he could get his mail at his regular address in Holland, Ohio, either way. So he, all candor to the court, he was visiting, and this is a big mess, but he is a person with enough regularity in his habits, enough ties to business, to where he's not going to ignore court. I mean, this is being 2024, there are good highways. He'll come back to court, because he's not going to risk his livelihood and his reputation. So we would ask the court to consider, if he's not eligible for a signature bond, we understand, but if the surety bond could be.
Okay, it'll be a $500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $1,500 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Lay, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams. Okay,
Next, we're gonna go to position number 2, Mr. Joel Belt.
Hello, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Belk. You have been charged in case 24CR007326A with theft by taking. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Or got an open loitering prowling trespass out of state court. On probation in Gwinnett, forgery in the third. 2023 trespass arrest. 2022 theft by taking dismissed. That's it.
Okay, Graciano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on the 28th at the Verizon store at 680 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell. The caller and the victim in this case is Lakendall Madlock. He's an employee at the location, reported that he set his personal tablet down on a red round table to assist a customer. And while he was assisting a customer, the defendant came in and took the tablet. The victim gave the officer the passcode to the tablet and a description of the defendant. He was located at a nearby Chick-fil-A, sitting with the tablet. He spoke with the officers and admitted to stealing the tablet, and the officers were able to use the passcode provided by the victim, and it did unlock the tablet. The state's requesting a $1,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Stay away from the Verizon store on Holcomb Bridge Road. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And no contact with Mr. Matlock.
Mr. McLean?
Or my client is young. He's only had the sheet where I calculated his or asked his age, but he does have the approximately, what is it, something like 3 ages. And in the age, sir, was again what?
21 years old.
Just 21 years old. We had a session, Your Honor. I believe that he's taking this case extremely seriously, that he will appear in court on time. He's a local of his life, and we would ask the court for those reasons to, he's job hunting right now. He's very candorous. He's very open and realizes that he messed up, as shown by him admitting at the time. He'd like to ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Verizon store on Holcomb Bridge Road. No further contact or no contact with Mr. Madlock, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Belk.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, stay blessed.
Next is gonna be position number 3, Mr. Stephen Bruno.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bruno. You have been charged in case 24CR007327C with 2 counts of simple battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? First
No.
arrest is
No.
standard. Thank you. Ms. Yesiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened on the 28th. The victims in this case are 2 women in their early 20s, Samantha Stevens and Jenna Oliver. They were in Samantha's vehicle driving to Samantha's neighborhood to drop Jenna off at her vehicle that was parked at the neighborhood pool. Samantha was driving. She pulled behind the defendant's vehicle at a stoplight at the intersection of Rucker Road and Willis Road in Alpharetta. The light turned green. The defendant did not go, so Samantha beeped her horn at the defendant to notify him the light was green. The vehicle proceeded to go into the same neighborhood as Samantha's vehicle. Samantha pulled into the neighborhood pool area to drop Jenna off, and the defendant circled around and met them, got out of his vehicle, and approached the girls aggressively, saying things like, "Don't come in my neighborhood. What kind of drugs are you on? Where the F are your parents?" etc., etc. The defendant and Samantha live in the same neighborhood. At this point, Jenna starts recording. The defendant pushes Samantha out of the way and then grabs Jenna by her shoulders and like her upper arm area and starts physically shaking her, which causes Jenna to drop the phone that's recording. At one point, Samantha said she pushed the defendant to try to get him away from Jenna. The police, at the time they meet the girls, they're at the pool. They then go over to the defendant's home to speak with him. He claimed he was attacked first. He was being followed. He called 911. The officer confirmed that with dispatch that there were no calls to 911 made by the defendant. And at that point, the officer then went back to the pool to view Jenna's video again and confirmed that the defendant was the primary aggressor. He was arrested. We've been in touch with Samantha today. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states that she lives a couple doors down from the defendant. She lives at 530. He lives at 550. She does not know him. She's never had an encounter with him prior to this incident. She wants no contact and would like for the defendant to stay away from her residence. We have not been in touch with Jenna today. This is his first arrest, Your Honor. The state's requesting an SOB through pretrial. No further contact with Jenna Oliver or Samantha Stevens. Stay away from Miss Stevens' residence at 530 Draintree Drive. Anger awareness course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Jenna and Samantha.
If either Ms. Stevens or Ms. Oliver are on the line and wish to address the court now, will be your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
No objection.
Okay, for each count of simple battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Stevens or Ms. Oliver, stay away from their residential addresses, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Burnell.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
We have a waiver, which is position number 18, Patrick Williams.
Okay, Mr. Patrick Williams is charged in case 24 CR 0073336G with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
You got 18. You got open loading problem, entering auto.
Hey, look.
24 SC 004703. Open terroristic threats, interference with government property. On probation for terroristic threats, criminal damage to property. 2022 probation, FTA. 2020 trespass conviction. 2018 armed robbery first offender. 2016 trespass conviction.
Okay, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from yesterday, the 28th of October at about 5 p.m. The location is 1217 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest. That's the Chevron gas station. The defendant just pled guilty on August the 27th of 2024 to criminal trespass at the same location. So he's under sentence right now, requiring he stay away. That's 24 CR 005637G. I would note that his 2020 criminal trespass conviction is also for the Chevron gas station at 1217 Metropolitan Parkway. And he was required to stay away from the location when that case was disposed as well. The 5 p.m. call that occurred yesterday was about the return of Mr. Williams. It was noted that he'd just been criminally trespassed on October the 17th. So while under sentence on his most recent case requiring he not go to that location, he went to that location on October the 17th, was received a criminal trespass notice and returned yesterday on the 28th. The clerk there reported that obviously the defendant is known to him and he'd been criminally trespassed previously, and he was outside on scene walking around in front of the doors. Police identified him and took him into custody. I did look at the disposition on the 3 cases because he's got a 2016 criminal trespass conviction that is a different location. None of these require a mental health evaluation or substance abuse evaluation or a social worker visit or any kind of resources or access to support for this gentleman. So we'd be asking for a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor. No contact with the clerks there at the location. Stay away from this same location, 1217 Metropolitan Parkway. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and MHET.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, it may be might be sufficient to start off with a social worker visit to see whether a BHET would be suitable, but I agree there are some concerns here. He waived his presence. He has a local address. He's a local person. He asked the court to consider, under the circumstances of the case itself, and the fact that he is a local person, as low a bond as possible, Your Honor. But I think the social worker visit with the BHET would get things going. It's too bad that he didn't have that before.
Your Honor, he's got an open indicted case for entering auto from June of this year in Superior Court. You just heard from pretrial. He's on probation for simple battery, terroristic threats, and interference with government property in DeKalb County from 2022. He's got felony criminal damage to property conviction out of Fulton County here from 2021. The state would argue the time to decide this gentleman deserves a social worker visit and a BHET to see if something might be necessary is way past. I see no evidence that was evaluated or looked into the 2 times that he's been in jail just in the past 6 months. So we'd go ahead and ask for an MHET.
I'm going to be on the SAP calendar on the 12th. So, Mr. McLean, we can start with the BHET, but if I think he needs an MHET, I'm going to order that on the 12th when I see him back at the SAP calendar. So if you'll just make sure you put in the notes to have whomever's representing him there, that I want to know of whether he is in need of an MHET. So we'll start with the BHET. So it'll be $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the Chevron and Metropolitan Parkway. Social worker visits, starting with the BHET, to report to me on the 12th at the SAP calendar. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay. And I'll try to get the social worker involved this week or if possible. This is only Tuesday, so.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Your
I
Honor,
believe that.
what did you say
Yes.
the amount was? I'm sorry.
It's $1,000 good bond.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that completes the 2 o'clock calendar. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready for us.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November the 12th. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. 3 is reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 5 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 6, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 7, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 8 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 9, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. 10, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 11 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. 13 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 14 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 15 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 16 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 17, SAP calendar with a $250 good bond. 18, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. And 19 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
I got a comment. Judge, don't let them victims stress you out.
Thank you, Mr.
They wanted beef with all y'all today.
They were popping off today.
Today was great. No, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
We're getting out of here before 4 o'clock, so thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Are you going to be back with us again this week, Judge?
Thursday. I'll see you all Thursday. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
All right,
Enjoy
take
the
care.
rest of your day.
Bye.